Okay, imagine spending days building the perfect blank for a commissioned bowl that's headed all the way to Sweden. You finally get it on the lathe and boom, it launches off like a rocket. You fix it? Yeah, it breaks again. At that point, I was this close to throwing the whole thing in the firewood pile, but I didn't. I pushed through the flying wood, the snapped tenon, and hours of soul-sucking sanding. And the result? One of the coolest honeycomb-themed bowls I've ever made. Hey friend, today's project is a wild one. I'm making a commissioned piece that's headed all the way from Ohio to Sweden. No pressure, right? They wanted a honeycomb theme, so I grabbed some walnut and thought, yeah, I can totally pull this off. Probably. This walnut is only 3/8 of an inch thick, which is perfect because I can cut through it with my laser like a hot knife through butter. I need 6 of these honeycomb layers to stack together and build the blank for the bowl. Think of it like a fancy woodworking sandwich. For the base, I found some cedar that looked nice and sturdy. Spoiler alert, it wasn't. But at the time, I thought perfect, so I glued everything onto it, giving me a thick bottom to grab onto the lathe later. Then I sealed the outside with UV resin to stop leaks and wrapped the whole thing with packing tape. But here's why. Resin shrinks while it cures and gets sucked into wood like it's an all-you-can-drink buffet. If I poured it perfectly flush with the top of the wood, I'd end up with dips and holes in the honeycomb pattern. So I made this little tape trough to pour extra in to keep it proud of the surface. When I prepared the resin, I mixed in gold interference mica powder, which is super cool because it's clear most of the time, but flashes color against dark wood. It's one of those effects where you pick up the piece and go, ooh, shiny. Now that the resin's poured into the blank, it goes into the pressure pot, and I get to pretend like I was being productive for 3 days while I wait for it to cure. For you, it was 2 seconds. For me, it was 72 hours. But it's finally time to turn. I mounted it with the worm screw. These things are rock solid. I've never had the bowl come off. Famous last words. But first, I'll shape the outside. Now I'm starting to hollow, and the whole thing launched off the lathe like it was training for NASA. No big deal. I'll cut a tenon and switch over to using my chuck jaws. Problem solved. Or so I thought. Well, the worm screw failed me, and now this tenon failed me. But I'm not going to give up. Give it one more shot. The tenon immediately snapped clean off as soon as I started hollowing. Never had that happen either. At this point, I'm wondering if using cedar for the base was a brilliant move or a giant mistake. Pulled out my biggest set of chuck jaws and clamped it down like I was trying to squeeze the juice out of this thing. Did I film this part? Nope. I was too busy muttering threats to the bull. But finally, it held. Crisis over. Now I could actually hollow the bowl and then sanding. 2 hours of it. If you don't know, I hate sanding. Like soul-sucking, energy-draining hate. After enough sanding to remove part of my will to live, it will be time to flip the piece and finish the bottom. Since you aren't my worst enemy, I'll go ahead and sand off camera, and we'll be back in just a second. Before I move it over to the vacuum chuck, I'm going to use the parting tool to separate most of it while it's still secure with a regular chuck. Then I flip it to finish the bottom, and finally, this project was done. You know what? Despite all the chaos, it turned out gorgeous. Thank you so much for hanging out with me until the end. Now, let's roll some close-ups of this beauty so I can pretend all those mishaps were part of the process.